Live. Okay, so we are live. We are here. Okay, so welcome to Fighting Fiction Book Club with my two guests, right, or two co-hosts in this.
What
My
are we call? What are we gonna call the stream again? Like three
the
dumb idiots or
uh,
something?
no, we'll save that for later. But yeah, this is the Fighting Fiction Book Club with my two guests, Britton, and just say hey to everybody,
Going on?
and and Justin. We got Justin here.
What's going on, everybody?
And today on the book club on this YouTube channel, we are talking about my favorite Batman story that I ever read when I got into comics, Dark Prince Charming. So, how was
I thought you like grew up a comic.
no, I grew up with manga, right? And I was like, I want
manga. Okay, I see how it is.
yeah, like what is it? What is it? There wasn't really a comic store in my like when I was growing up, like near me.
Mm-hmm.
So. And like, there's access to the internet, which means like there's access to manga, and plus mangas in bookstores. So it's like, oh, I can read this and then buy it at the store too. And like, yeah, that's really cool. But comics, you have to go to like a comic shop and like try to weave your way around, which is like, if you don't go in there with somebody who doesn't read comics, right? Or the staff doesn't want to like, it's a frightening experience, right? Because what was it? If I were to try to get in comics in like 2000s, they'd be like Batman number 346 or some dumb number, and you're like, oh, this is.
Well, I've talked about that before. Is like before I even started reading them, like I always tell the stories that I bought the compendiums of Walking Dead for my sister because she loved the show. And then, so like I remember the first time I went into a comic store, I remember asking the guy there, like, what do I get, or like, where do I start here? I want to buy them for my sister, and like he wasn't so much rude, but you just had that feeling that he was like kind of annoyed. And because I remember thinking throughout the whole experience, I'm like, listen, dude, I was like, do you want a sale or not? Like I'm trying to like buy some books. If you just give me a hand here, I'll spend some money. But he was like being so like apprehensive. It's like, dude, you running a business or what?
But oh no, it's like yeah. So what was it? So this came out. So a little backstory. This came out around the exact same time as Batman White Knight, Nightwing New Order, and Mr. Miracle. Right? These and Bane Conquest. Right? These like four big Elseworld stories, not in continuity, and only one of them, well, two of them became mainstays and like people always talk about, which were White Knight and Mr. Miracle. While like Dark Prince Charming, Nightwing New Order, and Bane Conquest are like kind of left on the wayside. Like, oh, nobody really, that big following.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
I guess this book felt. Oh, sorry,
go ahead,
Justin.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna try to send the link out on Discord. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think the story is a little more. I don't want to say standard because then that sounds like I think this is a bad story, and I don't think it's a bad story at all. I thought it was really good. But I don't think it was quite as unusual as like White Knight. But I don't know. I mean, Eric, I know you like it quite a bit. So
oh yeah, like I love this book. I can get into it why, but like I've read this 3 times, so this is a lot. I will say this, right? Go ahead, Justin. Like you share your thoughts and.
I remember you saying it was a really good story as far as Batman stories go, and I mean I read it today, so it'd be fresh in my mind. I got my notes here, but yeah, it was. I like I said, I haven't read comics for long, but I would say if you like the character of Batman, like this encompasses like kind of who he is perfectly. And the Joker in a way, like he kept like the Joker in this is really well done too. I think it really captures his full encompass of his like psychoticness.
Yeah, I
section with Batman, like I was just saying before we started is like the art matches perfectly. It's got that really dark, gritty kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm. The colors too.
I don't know. I just love that kind of art that fits with Batman. Like I don't so much like the really hyper realistic looking Batman, but like this art, it's like got that mix of both.
I will say this, right? So for me, I guess why I like this more than say Batman White Knight is, I guess two reasons, right? This has rereadability. Like I can go back and reread this, and it's I know all the plot twists and stuff because I read this like so many times. I say that it's stronger every time I read it again for me because of the big plot twist that's in here. Like if I were to say something like White Knight, which is like White Knight has a really strong start for like the first half of it, and then once the tone starts shifting and becoming a comic book, right? And in a sense, like the big laser at the end, it sort of loses me because it didn't keep that that feel that it set up. Like this one kept the feel all the way through. You're getting a Batman story, and you're gonna get a Batman story through all the way through the end, right? Well, White Knight is like you're getting this slow pace, like sort of political game, and then you're gonna get a Batman story at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. But yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it definitely, I could see that because it is a fun read. Like when you start getting into the story a little bit, it starts getting a little bit more fun because like he does a really good like way of balancing the action. It's like right when you're reading the story, you're almost like about to start thinking, man, I wish there was some action. Then you turn the page and boom, it starts hitting. So it's like it was like perfectly paced. So it keeps you really, as a reader, it keeps you really involved in the story because sometimes when certain scenes can stretch out for too long, it gets kind of like it feels lazy.
Yeah, it's like
this was a great balance of that pacing in a comic book, plus the right action of or the right balance of like Bruce Wayne, the politics side of Bruce Wayne in a way, and the actual Batman kicking ass side.
Which is like
it was kind of a weird. He kind of looked like a steampunk version of Batman in the White Knight.
Well, that's that's White Knight, right? But like, I guess that's how to put this. That's like Murphy's style, though. Is that that steampunkish edge, like those hard lines?
Well, he's got a lot of that manga influence in him too, because he always tried to blend. Like if you look at his cards and stuff, he even says he tries to blend that manga style with the American style. And you can see
that whole Frank Miller thing.
I see some Miller in there as well, but I do like right. I guess comparing it, I do. There like I like the pen. I'll say I think the paneling in the White Knight is good, right? It's really good, but I think if you're a starting comic book creator, right, then this one is well I'll say Dark Prince Charming is probably the best way to learn. Right, because everything is in the formation of a Z, or like a Z shape, where like all the information is giving to you just where your eyes can follow down the page properly.
Well, that's what a good artist does. They know how to this guy drew his own story, but even the ones that are drawing somebody else's story, they'll have that story. But like that's why artists are storytellers in and of themselves, because they're looking at some of the scripts and like what we see on the pages as final products aren't exactly how it's written in the script. Sometimes those artists can take something and tweak it in a way that the writer didn't see. But this guy, he does like a perfect way of. I don't think there was one time in this whole story where my eye went to the wrong direction.
Nope, it's really really good. Like Enrico Marini, right? I just like the first time I seen him do any kind of like book or like anything, and so I haven't seen him on anything else. So it's kind of a shame. Like I would love to see him do like a Dark Prince Charming #2 or sequel, but let's get to it. So, what is our plot? Go ahead, Brittany. You have something to say before we hop into it.
Daddy is in the next one.
Oh, right.
But no, yeah, I agree with Justin. I thought this was a very well-paced story, which is so. I don't know how to put this. I'm not going to say rare, but it's pretty hard to find a lot of really well-paced comics nowadays.
I think that's the hardest thing in comics is to find the right pace. I think that's my biggest struggle with like my story that I was doing, which you just got to overcome it. But that I think I find the hardest, more so than the developing and the actual writing of the story. But it's like when you get into making it, especially since I'm drawing my own, when you're looking at it on the page, then you really start to see the feel and the tone and the pace. But you don't, for me personally, it's like I don't really see it until I start getting it all thumbnailed out. And then you could see the lettering in your head. But that's why you got to go back and edit and stuff a lot of times. And that's been a big problem nowadays is so many editors suck. We've had so many editors not doing their jobs. But this one was perfect.
I think well, like before, I guess talk about pace, right? It's like okay. So if we're like looking through it, like flipping through the first page, we get the first page's introduction, right? You know, few dialogues. You spend 3 pages setting up like what like our plot, right? Our plot. There's a little girl stuck in the being held captive by the Joker. Then we jump into some action, and then we get some Batman narration, some more action, and then we
Well,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna. I didn't. I thought my mic was up. I'm gonna try to pull up if I can screen share. I don't know how to do that on here because I have, like I said, I have some of the art screen shared.
Mhm.
Like the first appearance of Batman when he lands on the roof of Joker's car. Like that's like the first time you see him in the bat suit, and I was like, he looks badass. I was like, the way the suit's drawn and everything, it almost looked a little bit like the Christopher Nolan one, mixed with like Ben Affleck in a way, because it was like a bulkier, it looked more military.
Which is actually like what is it? I remember a Comic Show's video saying that they don't want to put too much detail into like the suits because it'll take too long. But I think you could do a lot with like painting because I think this is like the colors are painted on instead of say so Britton, what you got? You got to throw some thoughts in there, throw some stuff in the hat ring.
Well, I thought that are you talking about like the suit? I mean, I thought the suit was pretty good looking, my friend. Though Batman was kind of a dick in this book.
So okay, so what do you guys want to talk about first, right? Before you want to talk about the plot or how the representation of our characters or core cast?
Don't matter. I mean, you guys start. Let me get. My dog got out, so give me 1 second. I'll be right back. But you guys can just continue.
Right. So, Britton, I guess we're talking about the plot. Let's talk about plot, right?
Let's talk about plot. Let's talk about plot.
All right. So, this is a mystery.
Yeah.
Which is the strong suit because Batman is a detective. Which, well, he's a detective first, and then
badass Mark Wahlberg is second.
Yeah, the badass god later, right? So this is why I would say it's really strong, is because it has a core mystery, and the mystery is
where has my little girl gone?
Okay, or you say is that little girl mine, or is Bruce Wayne's daughter?
Is that little girl actually even mine? I don't know.
It's a lot. Like there's a lot of mysteries in here, right? So the first mystery,
little mini mysteries,
yeah, which ties into one big mystery, which is really good, right? So the first one is
who the hell is this girl?
Yeah, because
that's the mystery by the end.
Yeah, because what is it? The first page we see this little girl. She's kidnapped by the Joker, and you're like, oh no. Who is this little, why did the Joker kidnap this little girl, right? That's the first one.
I'm interested in stories where little girls get kidnapped because this reminded me of Up in the Sky in that way. It's about a child getting kidnapped.
Well, I mean, you got to raise the stakes. You can't kidnap the girlfriend all the time. You got to kidnap the daughter.
You got to kidnap the daughter too from time to time.
Yeah. What was it? Last of Us 2 would probably we kidnap Ellie. You're like, oh no.
Oh fuck!
Wait, that happened in the first game, but okay, so Joker kidnapped a little girl, right? Automatically, we know this is a Batman story. So little girl's kidnapped. We know Batman's gonna get her, or gonna go find her. And that's our plot, right? Easy peasy, right?
Yeah, it's about the is it about the how? It's not about the how. It's about the why.
Yeah, the why and but then it becomes the how, or I guess
Then it becomes what?
That's it. Because
goes down in this movie.
So one of the big questions, right, is that the Joker. Okay, so this little girl, we find out later in the story, is that she is possibly Bruce Wayne's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Which is.
I'm gonna be a minute, guys.
All right.
You're back.
No, so so little girls could possibly be Bruce Wayne's daughter, and that fuels. Batman's, motivation to find her more than say usual.
We gotta find this girl.
Yeah, we don't want another Jason Todd incident.
We don't want another Jason Todd incident. That'll be a little awkward. I don't want another kid dying on my hands.
So that's our thing, right? So it's that little girl Batman, and I will say, what is it? The first book, right? The first first book of this. Is where it ends on a cliffhanger where Batman finds out, does the paternity test on the girl. And he says, it can't be. Let's see. Let me find the page. No. Yeah, it's not. It's like in the middle portion of the first book where Batman does a paternity test on on the girl, and like the dialogue goes, "Sir, the computer finished the DNA analysis of the presumably the child's blood and that we found on a doll, and I'm afraid you will not like the results." And then Batman says, "It can't be, right?" And then we just the next page immediately is Batman beating the crap out of like Joker goons. So
I'm back.
Hey,
sorry, I had to take my dog around a couple houses. Sorry, where were you guys at? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, so we were on the plot. We were talking about the little girl, how it was like, opening page shows a little girl's kidnapped, right? That is being held by the Joker, which is, that sets the plot up nicely, right? Then it evolves into the little girl. This little girl might be, Bruce Wayne's daughter, which expands on that plot. And what I was reading from Britain was this one line where Alfred's talking to Bruce Wayne how they got the DNA results, and Bruce's response is like a perfect cliffhanger because then it immediately goes to the next action of him interrogating one of Joker's goons, held in captive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, like I said, the show too. The whole thing with the Joker, he has absolutely. So I wrote down in my notes, he's got still no loyalty to any of his goons. He'll kill any of them at any second for anything minuscule. The one guy who says that he made a joke, and his golden rule is I'm the only one that makes jokes.
I'm the comedian.
Yeah.
The fucking
I thought in the beginning there was a funny part where Batman goes to see Gordon, and Gordon's vaping. He's like, "Are you vaping?" He's like, "You look ridiculous." He's like, says the guy in the bat suit.
Yeah, that was good.
It's not as bad as it's not as cancerous as these sticks are.
There were some good moments in this book,
which really does break up the pace, because instead of just being a good just kind of serious story of all the way through, it knows when lighten it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it does create an interesting dynamic with the whole, what's her name, Maria Shelley, isn't that her name? The lady who's saying that Bruce is her baby daddy.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just about to say that. He's like, yeah, it's that bitch who thinks he's her baby daddy.
I mean, there's something I was trying to figure out too when you first see the girl, Alina. Is it Alina or Alani?
Let me see. Yeah, I got it right.
She's got that birthmark on her face, and I'm trying to figure out where.
Like, yeah, I want your money, and then it's like, and he looks down, and there's some marks on her arm.
Well, yeah, it's like track marks. She's like a heroin addict.
I'm like, yeah, I ain't getting you shit. He pretty much gives her that I ain't giving you shit look.
Kind of, yeah.
Gonna blow all your money on fucking Smack.
And okay, so it just okay. So the heroin mother side, it does what is it? She's quickly removed out the picture because she plays no important role other than having her just introduce the child, and she's a plot device really.
Well, yeah, she's what drives the whole story and the whole motivation.
It's she brings the girl up, says it's Batman's or Bruce Wayne's, and Bruce is like, it's not my kid, but he ended up taking, spoiler, he takes the kid and you're gonna make her a Robin, probably
because Bruce Wayne is a nice guy. Deep down in that dark pit of his soul.
Did we already get? Like I said, I might have missed it. Did we already get past where the Joker is going after the little girl? Did you guys get there, to what happened?
No, because we were just going over the plot. But okay, Britton's walk us through it though. Take it away, Britton. Tell us what happens in the story.
So basically, Batman is tracking the Joker, who this woman wants Bruce Wayne to acknowledge this little girl because she thinks that Bruce Wayne is her baby daddy. Bruce is like, fuck you, I ain't doing that shit.
In so many words, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. He looks down, he sees some marks on her arm, he's like, fuck you, I ain't giving you shit.
Yeah, well, at first he's like, he almost is like, oh shit, did I really do this?
Then she tries to sue him. Then the Joker hits her car and kills her hotshot lawyer. and takes the girl and puts her into a coma.
Well, what led to that too was that it was Harley's birthday, and he wanted to get her a present, and they saw on TV that this, and it's so obvious who else was going to show up when the diamond's called the Blue Cat Diamond. So it's like, okay, Catwoman's coming at some point.
Yeah. Also, it's funny how how her and Bruce are in like this relationship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that time, this was you said this was made at the same time as White Knight, right? Zero.
Yes.
They're getting into that freak shit.
So that was around the same time Tom King had his stuff going with Selena and Bruce.
Which
So I was gonna say, I guess continuity wise, it makes sense if they're for DC.
They're banging,
Yeah, they've always been kind
of BDSM sort of thing.
Bruce likes his women to like feisty, right? But
he literally calls him daddy in one panel. I'm like, oh.
I will say this though, like I do like how every character introduced has some sort of motivation, right? The Joker's motivation is to please Harley, so that's what drives him to kidnap the girl, to try to blackmail Bruce Wayne to get the little girl back, he's like, you give me these stupid diamonds for my girlfriend, you get your kid back, right? And Bruce Wayne's motivation is, as Batman, is to save this little girl because this little girl might be his kid, or like through the Reach perspective, right? And Catwoman, she just wants a petition from Bruce because he's focused on this little kid that might be his.
When you think about it, too, Harley also wants Joker's attention.
Right, so like
the little girl takes away Joker's attention from her.
Yeah, Harley's all like into some freak shit too. Like she gets all naked and puts like food on her.
It's like it's like that. What is it? That animated animated series episode where she jumps in like that vat of pudding, and she's like,
yeah. Pudding series.
Yeah, so pudding for my pudding.
The Joker's not impressed, but this time that Harley's not impressed.
Well, it's like Harley's birthday, so she's like expecting all this stuff, and the like Joker is like so preoccupied with like pleasing her that in a way he doesn't like acknowledge her. You know what I mean? Because he's so focused on the goal of getting her a present that he's like not even really paying attention to Harley in and of herself, because he's so focused on the one thing.
And I really like that aspect because, I guess Tom King's Joker, right, was depressed for his, his interpretation was depressed, right? Scott Snyder's Joker, is sort of like an insane genius for some reason, and what is it? Like everybody has their interpretation of the Joker from since the New 52 started. Like their Joker is completely different from what it was before. How he was, either like say like the Killing Joke kind of Joker, where he just wants to, was a failed comedian and just wants to give people bad days, or how the Golden Age / Silver Age Joker was just someone who does it for the joke, for like everything has a punchline to it, like his crimes.
One bad day will drive the sanest man alive into insanity.
Right. So yeah, it's really that's the kind of thing. So besides that, what else happens, Britton? Keep going.
Well, Joker and Harley are having relationship problems.
Which they do.
He kills a bunch of his guys except for this midget guy called
who wants to commit suicide.
Oh, yeah, Archie. Yeah, he wants to commit suicide for some reason.
It almost in a way shows that like if you're going to be one of Joker's goons, you have to have the same personality as Archie. You basically just want to have to hate yourself, kill yourself at any moment, and not care about anything.
Why did you try drowning? I'm too good of a swimmer to drown.
Yeah. I tried jumping up buildings twice, but broke all the bones except for my neck.
This dude has like chronic bad luck.
Well, not to get ahead too, but there's a little monologue at the very end of the story about Archie.
Yeah. I skimmed through it because I was like, oh.
Which I think it implies that he actually finished the job.
Let me see. I'm gonna pull it up. But keep going, Britton, while I look this up because I got the book right here.
So after a while of this game, it turns out that Joker wants Bruce to steal this thing thing called the Blue Cat for Harley, because Harley keeps bitching the Joker out about, I want a fucking birthday present. So he blackmails Bruce into doing it, and Bruce almost chokes him to death. When and also the Joker cross dresses in this.
Yeah, I think he was cross dressing as Maria. Like I think he was cross dressing like trying to look like the mom.
That
was pretty funny.
Just like
I'm just like, oh god. This reminds me of Arkham Asylum, the Grant Morrison book. Anyways, I'm getting off topic.
Well, I mean, it works though, because like he's like supposed to be just this insane dude. He doesn't care.
Oh yeah.
Like,
but the thing is like it is the Joker. It is the Joker though, so like it is also funny.
Yeah, the Joker's he's a real slide up.
That's a well-written Joker, you know. Is that psychoticness, but you're also still making the reader kind of laugh because he's trying to be a funny man, you know.
He tries to bond with the little girl, but she's like, "No, you kidnapped me. You're a bad guy.
You're also the Batman. The Dark Knight's going to come and get you, which is the
name. Bitch, fuck you." And he leaves.
I will say there was one writing in the first chapter that was a little like I was like it's like when there's inner monologue and Batman's talking about how like Joker's been a thorn in his side forever and like they can never take him out and he always comes back and all I kept thinking was just kill him already, you know. I was like, how many times you got to put him away for him to just break out again? Just finish the job, you know. Like,
which. I mean, yeah, like if it was like I mean, that is probably the easiest way to do it. But like DC's like, whoa, you can't do that because people always buy Joker stories, and like we need the Joker. So
plus, Batman's more.
Well, anyway, that's what I thought. Well, in the Dark Metal, I thought Snyder did a good job where he snaps like to create the Batman who laughs. Like Batman finally goes over that edge, but it releases a toxin when he kills him, and then it creates the Batman who laughs.
Yeah. Which is, really cool too.
That was the best part of that whole thing.
So Batman and so Bruce tries to get the Blue Cat, but he loses to this Egyptian guy who is probably in cahoots with Catwoman.
I don't think he is.
Because Catwoman stole it from like the auction.
I think Bruce in a way was being smart. I think he saw Selena, knew what she was going to do, and he's like, wait, why am I going to waste my money? Let this guy freaking bid on it, and I'll just go jack it from Selena because she's probably going to jack it. So it's like it's
a gift.
Because then she starts like flirting with him, and he's like, bro, I don't have time for this. I'm on duty.
I'm trying to save my daughter, not my daughter. Maybe.
I'm trying to save my maybe daughter.
It's if they called her Ellie, it would be like hilarious, right? Like it's the name.
And then he ends up jacking it off of her after she like tries doing some shit to him. He's like, fuck her. So then she stalks him over to the Joker's place, and Joker's all pissed off because Batman's late, or Bruce is
2 minutes late.
You think Joker knows that Bruce and Batman are the same?
I think he's got inclinations, but he hasn't had any hard proof to prove it. When he grabs and chokes him as Batman, he's like, I know that grip. Because it's the same, Yeah,
but he just just doesn't care, right? Because it's that Scott Snyder. Like, remember Tom King said that like the joke. Tom King's Joker is like he's kind of gay for Batman, so he's like he can't live without Batman existing.
Well, as Frank Miller, I think Frank Miller's Batman is not Batman.
Wasn't the Joker always been like that though? He's always wanted Batman around. Because it like gives him purpose or something.
I don't think for the Golden Age, right? But the Silver Age, like I don't know. I think that like became later, like more. But
was it the movies, the Nolan movie, where he talks about he's like, you need me, like he's like, you need me to be around to justify what you do.
Yep, because we're gonna be doing this song and dance forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I think it's like more of a modern interpretation, like their need for each other.
I think the Joker set up the lady. The Batman's baby mama.
You mean by the end of it? I don't think he did. I think it was all inadvertent. Because the way it was set up, because they showed a flashback to when Bruce was 9 years ago in the bar, but it never implied that he hooked up with her. But you got the feeling that he could have, the lady. But then by the end of it, you kind of see it doesn't tell you straight up, but you get by the end of it who, what the real deal was without spoiling before we get there.
All right. So, Britton, carry on.
So Joker ends up hiring all these fucking goons because
some mercenaries,
Yeah,
Black Ops kind of guys.
He killed all of his guys. He needs to stop doing that. Henchmen aren't cheap, man. But anyways, one of the guys gets all mouthy with him, so Joker gasses him, and then he's like, "Okay, here's these masks. I'm sick of looking at your ugly asses."
Yeah, I mean,
that's what he says in the book. I'm not.
You'd think too from this new crew, he gets a new crew, so it's kind of anticipated. Then you see them, and they look like a bunch of badass mercenary guys, but they go out just like punks, like every other guy that fights Batman.
Batman has to be the coolest dude because that's what his contract says.
And Batman internet shits out, so he's like, "Fuck it, I'll just go on my own," and ends up infiltrating the place, and that goes well. He beats up everyone. And the Joker is like, yeah, I'm going to kill this bitch because I'm going to kill this little girl because you were late. And she's all like, no, don't kill me. And then Batman's like, oh, fuck. And then Harley tries getting all cute. Because I forgot to mention, she tries to escape at one point, and then Harley's like, bitch, like, I don't know why he likes you so much, but he's for me. Like, he's mine.
Yeah, that's where it shows you that Harley's jealous of this little girl because all of Joker's attention right now is circled around that little girl and not Harley.
Yeah, exactly. And
but I will say I would say the way that he draws women in this, there's a lot of sexy drawn women.
Yeah, exactly. There's sexy women.
Which you don't get nowadays in Marvel.
Then the little girl, she's a sly one. She ends up poking his ass with oh fuck! It's like
it's a handshake gag thing.
That's the gag that has poison in it, and he's like, "Oh fuck! Now I need to die in 2 minutes." Oh, you mean this antidote right here? I just conveniently pulled out.
He's like, she stabs him in the ass. I love it. No, I love how she stabs him in the ass with it, and he's like, "Ow!" And he turns around and he starts like freaking out when he realizes what it is that he got stabbed with. But if it was a little girl, I would have been like, "Oh, this thing, smash on the ground,"
But yeah, Batman just kind of has his like, "Huh, son of a bitch." He got outsmarted by a little girl.
Maybe it is my daughter.
Outsmarted by a little girl.
Yeah, it's like maybe it is my daughter.
He's like, damn, yeah, maybe it is my daughter. And then he takes her in. He's like, oh, yeah, here's your mom. Oh, yeah, I fixed your doll, by the way. She has this Batman doll.
Which is like, very, very important.
Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, Alfred fixed it for you. She's like, oh, cool, thanks. And then he sits back, and it turns out at the beginning, it's where now we're chronologically at where we were at the beginning, which was this little thing and a card that says, kiss my little prince for me.
My princess.
And then we get a flashback to 9 years, and then the Joker's pulling up. He looks like an emo kid, and he's like, and he wants like a beer, and it's implied that maybe this chick's baby.
It's totally who it is. It's like because like the girl's got that birthmark too. Because I was trying to figure that out in the beginning. I was like, who would that birth? Because I knew that birthmark was going to be an indication to somebody, but I couldn't figure out who. And then by the end of it, I'm like, even though the Joker doesn't have a birthmark that I guess we see because he's always wearing makeup, but it makes sense that like in like the whole dynamic when you step back after the story too, it's like okay, the Joker has a daughter who's now being raised by Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Right. And like if you want to like play back into it, right? How Harley's like is kind of upset with the Joker for having this infatuation with the Joker, and the little girl has like this big infatuation with Batman as well, and it's like it's just like, oh baby, it's hereditary. And like what like to say, I remember I told you that you guys when you find the plot twist at the end, it does influence how the story changes a bit because it's like so why Batman is like a bit harder. You read the first time, he's like Batman is being a bit more gruesome or like more harder on criminals when trying to find clues about where the girl is. Because
hard-edged.
Yeah, like because he's oh sorry. Well, I'll just say like he's doing it because he's trying to find that's his kid, like that's like implication, like it's his daughter, and so he's doing it. But then like second reading, right, it's like he's doing it because he doesn't want her to end up like the Joker. It's like, probably trying to stop a second Joker from being happening.
Well, it kind of implies too that like no matter who your hereditary parents are, it's who raises you is going to define who you are. So, so you can have the genes. You can have the genes of the Joker and be like the Joker sibling, and as evil as he is. But like if in a real world, like if that kid was raised by a Bruce Wayne or Batman, like she wouldn't be like the Joker at all. Even though she's his blood.
Yeah.
But I wanted to play this because we got kind of past it. But there's a part when Britton talked about with the sushi, where Harley's all naked and she's got sushi all over, and she wants the Joker to come eat. Where he's playing the piano, and like they're telling him to stop playing, and he's like, "It's Rachmaninoff, you idiots." So I looked it up because I was like, "Well, I kind of want to hear, what it was that he was playing." So here, I'll play you a little bit of it. So
all right.
So you can kind of get the sense of the tone of how it fits. I don't know. Can you guys hear that? So you can see it's kind of like it's got a real dark feel, kind of like that little pattern in the beginning. But that's just a little taste of it. I was like curious to hear. Every time I see music in comics, I always go look it up to see what it is exactly if I don't know it. But just to kind of give you a feel. So if you go back and like hear that music in your head in that scene, you could see like the Joker playing some music like that. That's like dun dun dun, just really like cathartic.
Really sassy.
Wow. And then, like I said, the other music part was when he was singing. Oh, go ahead, Britton. Go ahead.
Stop playing your Beethoven and come over here. And he's like, "Bitch, it's." I forgot what
yeah, she's like, "Don't forget your beef stroganoff" or whatever she says like that.
Wait, how do you spell it?
Oh, it's Sergei Rachmaninoff. Just like if you start typing it in, it'll pop up on YouTube. Sergei Rachmaninoff.
I think this is
something like that. But then my other favorite part, like as far as music goes, and it was the part where the Joker's in the rain, and he's singing, messing with Wayne. Like I forgot how it was, screwing with Wayne. If I'll play that too. If anybody doesn't know, again, I'm a little older, so some people might not know the reference. It's from Singing in the Rain, which was like an old film with Gene Kelly. But so it's funny when you think about it, like the Joker singing this song. And I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds. So it's like I can just see the Joker doing singing this, but with that song that he made up, but with that same cadence.
Yeah.
With Wayne.
It reminds me of Alex from A Clockwork Orange because there's a scene in that movie where he's raping this older woman while singing it.
Yeah.
And well, if you watch The Dark Knight, if you read about it, Heath Ledger was influenced by that portrayal when he was playing the Joker. So I thought back to that.
Yeah, well, it's like what do you call it, the 3rd degree or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but with Batman.
6 degrees a nutcase with the Joker.
Yeah, but it's funny, like when you hear, like if people don't know that old song "Singing in the Rain," so it's like it's such a happy because like the song is about a guy who's like falling in love with a chick, so it's like a happy kind of tone, and then when you put it in a book with the Joker singing it, again it's almost comedic because he's a psychopath and he's out there singing this song all happy and gleeful and stuff, and then he turns around and kills a cop.
Yeah, the cop's like, "Hey, I know you," and he's like, fucking killed him.
So I don't want to bring it right. So we talked about the characters and the plot, right? But I wanted to bring up I actually do want to bring up a bit of say the format this came out on, because this didn't come out as single issues. This just came out in 2 little hardcover books, right around the time as the DC Rebirth kicked off. And I guess I want to say right. Why do you think this one asking you guys why do you think this guy's this story, Dark Prince Charming, got sort of shafted by White Knight and Mr. Miracle?
Well, I think it's because Sean Gordon Murphy probably was a bigger name. I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me. I don't know how long this guy who did all this, like how far back his history goes in comics, but I know Sean Gordon Murphy's had built up a pretty, well-known name for himself in the industry up to that point, and it was like his first time that like he's gonna take the character on and do everything himself except for color. So I think that in and of itself made it a little bit bigger.
I
just because of his name, because of who he is. But again, I don't know who this guy was that did this before reading this book. So that would be my guess as to probably why it got more hype or more press. And plus, like I said, I love this story. This is a great story, but I also love the White Knight story just because it's a whole different kind of take where you're turning Batman into the bad guy.
Are you Britain?
I don't know. I think I agree with Justin that maybe that he got kind of sideswiped because Sean Gordon Murphy and Tom King are more well known in comics, and this is like some dude from Europe, and us idiots out in the U.S. don't know a lot about European comics. Oh, hello there, Justin. Anyway,
hello, the roommate.
That's my roommate, Danny. No, I think he was gonna read it too, but they were out doing stuff, so he was gonna do it, but then they got busy. They're going camping.
but let me. I don't know.
Hi, we're going to watch Friday the 13th 7 tonight to get ready to go camping. And in case you're wondering, yes, that's the one where Jason takes a woman in a sleeping bag and just fucking beats her against a tree. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
There's 7. Which one's the one in space?
Which one's what?
The one in space, right? Is that
Jason X.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was where it got ridiculous.
That's still actually pretty good.
All right, but go on, Britain.
I think he just kind of got sideswiped because of they have more clout than he did, and he's just like this dude from Europe. I'm sure the European readers had a good time reading it though, because they're like, "Oh, we know this guy."
So more Batman book from him, please.
I'm not as insightful when I'm on the spot, but I think the basic gist of what happened here is that he kind of got overshadowed by these other 2 books that were also very unusual. And also, I think the story is a little more safe, I guess. I don't know if that's the right term. Maybe a little
traditional.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good term for it. But yeah, I think that's kind of why this book kind of got sideswiped a bit.
All right. So, Britton, it's your turn to pick the book for next
week. Well, Eric, why do you think it got sideswiped?
Oh, well, I wanted to say, because I never heard of Sean Gordon Murphy when I started reading comics. And when I was looking on ComicTube, Comic Storian, Comics Explained, Comic Pop, and they did like this podcast. Well, Comic Storian and Comics Explained did a podcast together, and they were talking about books they were excited for. And the one that that got them both excited was the Joker becomes a politician trying to sue Batman, and they said, "What?" And that was the thing that got them that had them sold was the premise alone. And I think what was it? And Mr. Miracle, that's why that one became more popular because the premise was just so out there, it's different from anything you ever seen before. While I will say for the fact Tom King. I'll say Tom King was doing based off the first issue, right, of say Mr. Miracle. Mm-hmm. It's really good, right? It's a really strong issue. It's well paced and it's more serious. It's the I'll say it's more adult how comic they want comics to be. So they were advertising that more than say Dark Prince Charming or Nightwing New Order or any other Elseworlds books that were coming out at the time. And I think it was just that idea of hey, we're doing this more mature take on Mr. Miracle, and we're doing this a bit more nuanced story or political it's political storytelling with a Batman universe, which I think.
Well, I always thought the beginning of Mr. Miracle was one of the best because you have a guy who escapes every situation, but can he escape his own suicide?
Yeah. But it's these it had Dark Prince Charming doesn't have the strongest premise, right? You tell somebody, hey, you should read the Batman Dark Prince Charming, right? Yeah, try to sell them on why it's different from, say, any other Batman story or story in runs. While you tell someone, hey, you should read Batman White Knight, and you say the Joker became a politician and trying to get rid of Batman, and they'll probably be like more intrigued than that than say like a safe Batman story.
Well, like I said, this is like a typical what you would expect from Batman and Joker. So that's why I think that like Sean Gordon Murphy's was a completely different take on Batman and Joker. So that's probably why I got a little bit more hype too.
Mm-hmm. So, Britton's checking his phone for like those DMs.
No, I'm looking for comics to read. I think I found it.
All right,
I got for next week. But go on.
Okay, so Justin, I want to know your final review for this, like your final score, rating.
Story-wise, I give it. I'll give it like a 10. As far as a Batman story goes, like what you want in a Batman story. In and of itself, see, it's hard to say because, like I said, I love the White Knight for the different take. But as far as just like what you would expect out of a Batman Joker story, I'll give it like a 9. I'll give it a 9. And then I'd say art-wise, I give it a 10. Like I love this dude's art. Like it fits the world of Gotham and Batman perfectly. It's like not too hyper realistic. It's not too gritty. It's like a perfect blend of both of those styles. And then I love the way he draws like Harley. The Joker interpretation is okay. It's not my most favorite drawn Joker, but everything else about it was I love. Like the cityscape shots that he does. There's one, I can't pull up the screen shares. I wish I could. But there's the one panel where he's like on a tower above the clouds, and you just see like the tops of the skyscrapers coming through the clouds and the sun in the distance. I thought that was the coolest drawn panel in the whole book.
All right.
Yeah, I would say if you like Batman and you want to read a solid ass Batman story that you will not dislike, this is a definite read.
All right, Britton, what's your score?
Story, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. If I'm going to do stars, I'm probably going to give it an 8 or 9 out of 10 in terms of numbered rankings. Art, 5 out of 5. I mean, that art was just, that art was just,
beautiful, as you call it.
Exactly.
I wonder if he did it digitally or if it was like both.
Like,
no,
flowers.
I'm saying I didn't know if he did it traditionally or on a tablet or if he did both. Like, because whatever he did, it's great.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be following this dude.
I say traditionally because I'm looking at I have the hardcover edition and the sketchbook, it comes like the sketchbook pages that come in the back. It looks like pencils, like actual pencil drawing, but I don't know. So sorry.
I was going to ask, is this the same guy who did like that Harley Quinn like BDSM book?
There's a Harley Quinn BDSM book.
Yeah, it's called like Harleen.
I think that's a Black Label book. That's let's see, Harleen. Like
He's going around the same time as the Batwing.
That's Liber Mayho. Like Harleen is. Let me see. Keep going, Brandon, about what your take or review you were doing.
But yeah, basically to keep it short, I really enjoyed this book.
Okay. For me, that's I give it a straight. Oh no, the Harleen book is by Stepan Sajic, or I can't pronounce that. But yeah, I give it my favorite. So I give it 10 10 out of 10, and I give it a 9 out of 10 for like the plot, like for story wise. I had some problems with it for like the first book, and the art. I say art and paneling. I give it a perfect score of 10 out of 10. Like learning comics, you want to learn paneling. Best way to learn it, and easy storytelling, visually. So, Britton, what are we reading for next week?
My friends, I've been meaning to read this book for a while now. It's by the man who penned the widely acclaimed series, The Wicked and Divine, which I personally thought was all right. But I'm hoping I hope this is better.
Oh yeah, I remember Tyler was going on about that when it came out. What's it called again? It's Kieran Gillen or something like that.
Oh, Die.
Yeah, no, Die. It's called Die. It's by Kieran Gillen. It's about these kids who get stuck in in a Dungeons and Dragons like game. It's kind of like a dark, gritty It's like a darker reimagining of like Jumanji, you know. And I thought, that's a cool concept. I'm gonna read this. And
I remember when it came out, it was like a big deal. Like a lot of people were hyping it. It was like
buddy Todd, bro, you gotta check it out.
It did get picked up by Netflix, or I heard.
Already? Oh my god! This thing
Everything gets picked up by Netflix. It's just a matter of how good it is.
The question is,
like
if they'll make it
5 issues in, I'm like, oh my god, dude! Give it some time to breathe before you're like, hey.
That's what I hate too. It's like, look at Walking Dead. It's like they started making that show before the series was done. And so it's like, then they got to a point, or I'm sorry, Game of Thrones, not Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones got to a point where it's like, don't start a series if the books aren't even completed, or at least wait till you need one more book, because like Game of Thrones is 2 more books to complete the series. It's like, wait till he gets at least to the last book before you start the show, because that's what it suffers, because you run out of source material, and then the writers of the show are creating the world after that, and it's going to suffer.
I think, going off topic, the worst case I've seen of comics getting picked up was James Tiny Onion.
Tiny Onion?
Yeah, because he has a blog called The Tiny Onions. So.
Oh, does he really? That's fun.
Yeah, so he has a Something's Killing the Children. I think the issue 1 came out and it was immediately picked up by Netflix.
Oh my god!
Well, I guess they buy so much stuff, that it's like they buy everything because they're always trying to look for new hits. Like the problem with Netflix is like they have so much that there is a lot of crap that's on there, but there's also some hidden gems you find sometimes if you give stuff a chance.
Wait, dude. That makes sense. Like that's been, it's been out, it's been finished for a while, even though they're doing a return series, kind of like it's like El Camino, except it's for Sweet Tooth. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Like that makes sense. They did it for Descender. That makes sense. But when you're like 5 issues in, and the fucking production companies are already crawling up your ass to get the adaptation rights, like, okay, that's a little ridiculous.
It was 1 issue for Something Killing the Children, and they got picked up.
Movie studios are always looking for the next big thing. Like, for instance, with Robert Kirkman, he didn't even start writing Outcast before Showtime already picked it up as a TV show. Because they were like, you got anything? Yeah, I read a story. Well, they went to him and they're like, you got anything new on the table? He's like, well, I got this thing about, like, possession. They're like, we're sold. And it's like they were already on board for it to be a TV show before the first issue even came out.
Then it sadly got canceled.
Yeah, it's kind of like basketball and like athletes where they're signing like young kids who are like 16, 15 who are like really good. They sign them young because in the hope that they'll turn out to be like, an amazing athlete. I remember that I can't think of the kid's name. He was that soccer player a couple years ago, and he was supposed to be the next Pele. He was like 18 or something, and I don't think he's turned out to be anything special. So it's like, it's hit or miss, but they try to get on it early because the other competition's going to do the same thing. So it's like, well, we might as well take this risk and hope it pans out as opposed to letting somebody else get it.
Which is,
it's crazy. It's crazy how it works.
It's really crazy. Where's my DC animated Batman Dark Prince Charming movie coming out? DC?
Finally doing the long Halloween after all these years of people being like, hey, DC.
I'm just so nervous about them doing stuff. Like, I was talking to my roommate earlier and like the light bulb clicked in my head about like when they make the TV or the movies based on the books and like for Hush, for instance, how terrible it was compared to the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think a lot of times what they're doing is like they're trying to rewrite some things for like new fans who haven't read the comics. Like in Killing Joke, like there was the whole thing with Batgirl and Batman hooking up, which wasn't in the book. And it didn't make sense, but I was like, at the same time, it hit me. I was like, you know what? They probably put that in there for anybody who hasn't read the books, just to give a little bit more context to the character before she gets shot. To try to get people more invested into who Batwoman is or Batgirl is. I mean, comic readers are going to know, and that's going to be impactful. You don't have to do a backstory with him or her and Bruce, but I can see why they do it. But like I said, sometimes they're going to hit and sometimes they're going to miss when doing that.
I'll say that we're reading Die, guys. So how many issues is in the first trade of Die?
5. There are 5.
So reading the first trade.
Yes.
I'm reading the first trade.
You
I'm
know,
a
you
trade
guys
wait.
make it easy, make it one issue. You guys make it whole freaking books.
Okay, it's not a fucking behemoth like.
Yeah,
goddamn,
just
like,
next week when I pick a compendium.
we're reading Vagabond right now, dude. Like that's
That-
like 10 chapters long. That's how long the first chapter is.
It's like 60 pages a chapter for Vagabond.
Well, next week when I pick, it's going to be the entire Bendis Believe Daredevil run.
Oh man, I can't. I'll probably stop at like 3 chapters in because I don't like
big,
this
thick
book.
books like like that big each.
What does it mean? Like, was it Dark Prince Charming is like maybe 100 pages long?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a fun read. As long as the story's good and you enjoy it, that makes reading it, that it goes by quicker. It doesn't feel like you're doing work when you're reading a story you like.
We're going down my favorites list, guys.
See, I never
Anyways,
played Dungeons and Dragons. I played it one time in my life, and I think I was in 4th grade. So, you nerds better have a good book here.
all right, Britton. We're holding him to a higher standard. So,
I'm hungry, so I need to go. So,
all right, guys. So, thanks for joining us this time, and see us next week on Britton's YouTube channel where we go over Dive. And you're free.
Let's give a quick, little link where we could find everybody if there's anybody new watching.
All right. Where can we find you, Britton?
at some Okie Dude on Twitter.
And Justin?
On Twitter, you can find me at JukeJoint83. Same thing on Instagram, and my YouTube channel is I changed the name today, but the YouTube channel is Juke Joint Studio.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Friday Fiction Book Club.
Woo!
We will be doing Britton's revisiting on is next week. So can't wait to read Die tonight.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right.